Hey friends, okay, so today's video I'm gonna be talking about how to reclaim Advent, right? So it is crazy out there. There's so much going on, a lot of hustle and bustle, you know, presents, Christmas trees, cookies, all the good stuff, all the fun stuff, right? There's nothing wrong with that. However, I think it's important to remember that Advent is actually all about preparing our hearts for the coming of Jesus, right? So there can be a lot of distractions, and so I'm gonna kind of talk about how can we have less distraction and have more of Jesus. And so that's what this video is all about. I hope that you enjoy. If you are new here, I would love to have you a part of this amazing community. There's just so many amazing people here, great comments. Definitely go down, read them, because you guys are all amazing. Okay, so the first thing that I would recommend is just to prepare ourselves for the coming of Jesus. That is by far the most important part of Advent, is to prepare our hearts and our families' hearts as much as we can for the coming of Jesus. And so that's the awesome thing about the Catholic faith, is all the readings at Mass is, you know, on Sundays, every week we light a new candle for the Advent candle. It's all about preparing for the coming of Jesus. So that is really interesting when you think about that, because obviously they're talking about the baby Jesus, but it's more than that. It's also about preparing our hearts for the coming of Jesus a second time. And that can be whether we die and we are face to face with Jesus, or whether it's, you know, in the book of Revelation, like the coming of Jesus, where he comes to the earth again. You know, it's one of those two things, and one of those two things is going to happen to us. So I love the wisdom of the church and how they are all about preparing you for the coming of Jesus for a second time. So it's about the first time he came, but also the second time he's going to come. And so just preparing yourself, getting a devotion, just quieting everything. For me, I did a video a while ago about preparing for Christmas, because if you're a mom, I have 5 children, there is a lot that goes into it, a lot of moving parts. And sometimes before I prepared, so I take most of November, some of October to prepare for Christmas, so that during Advent, I'm completely in it. I feel so good about just less of the world and more of Jesus, you know? And so I think that's a big key part of really being able to dive into Advent. But I think having a devotion, going to confession is huge. If you can go to confession during Advent, that is highly recommended. It's not required in the Catholic faith, but it is really truly, because if we are thinking about like the coming of Jesus, we want a clean soul, right? So that kind of goes hand in hand with that. So going to confession is huge spiritually. Anytime you go, but especially if you knew you were going to die, you'd want to go to confession first, right? So we should always kind of be thinking about our death. Also, there's a lot of different devotion meditations that you can do. This year, I'm gonna actually just do the St. Luke Gospels, because there's 24 chapters. So every week I'm going to read a new chapter. And so by the end, so you start on December 1st, and then on Christmas Eve, you read the last chapter. And so all during Advent, you are reading the life of Christ. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm not buying any fancy devotion this year. I have a whole bunch that I've done. I can try to maybe list some down below. If I remember, I will list them down below. But truly, all we need is the Bible, really, and just ask the Holy Spirit to speak through us. So another way to reclaim the Catholic faith is through kind of preparing our house, right? So that is something that I think everybody has to discern differently. Like my sister, she doesn't set up her Christmas tree until the day before Christmas. And that's what they do. They go chop down a tree and they decorate it and they get it all ready for Christmas. And so that's how her family does it. They literally do it the day before Christmas. And you know, if that's what you need to do to wait and prepare for your heart to be ready for Christmas, then that's fine. I do it like right after Thanksgiving. So there's not really a right or wrong way to do it. Like the Catholic Church doesn't say it is wrong, you should not put up anything Christmas until, you know, X, Y, and Z. Nothing, like you could have it up all year round. There is nothing sinful or wrong about it. But you do, the main thing about Advent is you just want to prepare your heart, you know. And for us, we kind of, we do set it up after Thanksgiving. And for me, that is how I prepare for the coming of Jesus. Like I'm one of those people, I wanted to know what the gender of my babies were, and so I could decorate and I could prepare for having a boy or a girl. And that's just me. That's how I operate. I know not everyone does that. Some people like that surprise. I am surprised either way, if I find out early or if I don't. But that is something that I like preparing. I like, you know, setting things up, getting ready. And so for me, like having the tree up and all the decorations, that is me preparing for the coming of Jesus. And we do emphasize though with our decoration, Christ. So we do have a lot of Christ nativities around. We have Mary, I have a statue of Mary where she's pregnant. I have a lot of things that are Christ-centered. The other thing that I would say is the music. So there, you can listen to music, Christmas music. If that's how you prepare for the coming of Jesus, then that's how you prepare. But there is a difference. There's a difference of having like good, holy music and very worldly, materialistic music. I don't know if that makes sense, but there is a difference. So I would just say, like, just be careful of that. You know, like I would say that most of our music probably should be orientated around the coming of Jesus, or, you know, Jesus is here, getting excited about Jesus. But at the same time, there's nothing sinful about other music, if that makes sense. But you just have to be careful, because like the world, their version of Christmas is very different from what God is asking us to have in our preparation in Advent, you know? So we really do need to like kind of have a, okay, what part of this is like helping me towards Christ? And that's the whole purpose of Advent. There's a lot of feast days during Advent that me and my children absolutely love. We're all about feast days. So there's St. Nicholas feast day, where the kids get a book, they get an ornament, they get some candies, mandarin. So I do like that. And also we usually start making cookies that day. So, and we usually don't eat the cookies till feast days and also Christmas. So we kind of like save all the fun stuff for feast days and especially Christmas. So it's kind of good, because otherwise we go on sugar overload anyway, right? And then there's St. Lucy's feast day. And so St. Lucy, I love her story, but we kind of go all out. It's more of an experience that day, like where Bella dresses up in her like little crown and her white gown and red sash, and she'll bring me rolls in bed, usually me and Eric, but he's usually gone to work. So so she'll bring rolls and all of that. So it's kind of like this fun thing. I'll read them her story, which I absolutely love, and then at night we'll give them hot chocolate and we'll ride around looking at Christmas lights, because she is the saint of light. And then there's, you know, Our Lady of Guadalupe. We'll eat Mexican food and I will read her story to the children. So I have all these different teachable moments during Advent. So we do have like little feast days along the way. I do my consecration to Mary as well. That's something that you're supposed to do once a year. And so since it's the end of the year, that's usually when I do it. So there's different things to celebrate within Advent. And so those things are reclaiming Advent. They're kind of emphasizing Advent, I feel like. So, so those are some fun things. Also doing things that are not materialistic. So, you know, like you go on Pinterest and there's all these things about like, oh, we watched Christmas movies. We did that, like, it's like a checklist, but it's like, all things that don't necessarily gear you towards Christ, right? And so one year I made this whole list. I'll link it down below, but ideas like going to adoration as a family, going to a nursing home, and you know, being with the elderly, just doing different things, giving. You know, really truly that's what Christmas should be about, is giving and emptying ourselves out for the coming of Jesus. And so so those are some ways that we can reclaim Advent, is to really lessen ourselves, lessen materialism, and really that will help emphasize Jesus in our life. You know, our prayer is obviously the #1 way, but our whole life, everything should be about God anyway, but especially during Advent, that is where we should really silence ourselves and prepare our hearts for Jesus, for the coming of Jesus again, through Christmas, but also when he comes back. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and until next time, I will see you all later. God bless. Bye.